Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Joining us right now from Washington, D.C. is Congresswoman Lynn Jenkins, who represents Kansas. She also serves on the House Ways and Means Committee and is vice chairperson of the House GOP Conference. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we're still getting some new information in terms of this IRS scandal that's coming in seemingly by the day. We know that some reports have pointed to this office in Cincinnati as being the source of all this. Do you believe that, or do you believe that this came from higher on up the food chain?
Well, I think the investigation has just begun, but we intend to get to the bottom of that and find out where the directive came from, who ordered it, and hopefully hold those folks responsible.
What information, I know there are some more House committee meetings this week. What new information or what do you hope to learn as a result of these new hearings this week?
Well, we still have more questions than we have answers. If you tuned into our Ways and Means hearing last week, you heard the acting commissioner who has now resigned or will resign effective June say he didn't know as the answer to the majority of the questions. And so we still have an incredible amount of work to do. What we do know is that people were targeted by the Internal Revenue Service based on their political beliefs, and there is outrage on both sides of the aisle. And I think it's just indicative of a big government. We've had several scandals unfold here in recent days and weeks, and I think it's all indicative of just a government that's too big, that's run amok, and it makes a case not only for fundamental tax reform, which Ways and Means Committee has been working on for several years, but it also makes the case for a smaller, more limited government.
Yeah, there's a lot of appetite for tax reform. We've also seen some new bills proposed in the wake of this IRS scandal. Congressman John Fleming of Louisiana proposing that the IRS be stripped of its auditing authority. Also, there is a bill, I believe, working its way, or been proposed at least in the House by one lawmaker saying that this woman who was in charge of that unit of the IRS, the nonprofit unit, who is now working over on the healthcare side of the IRS, having her stripped of her role. Do you support any of these new bills?
Well, we're going to be taking a look at all of those issues, but there is concern that you have an agency headed by this woman who targeted conservatives for their political beliefs, now in charge of implementing the president's health care law. So naturally, once certain individuals have been targeted for their political beliefs, there's concern that the pattern will continue. And what's frustrating is there was never an attempt to reprimand anyone or to hold these folks accountable to date. And during the hearing last week, I asked both Commissioner Miller and the investigator, Mr. Russell, at what point did they alert Treasury to this scandal? And it was over a year ago, John, that the deputy treasurer at Treasury knew that this was going on. And yet nothing has been done about it to date. We know the White House was made available, the information sometime in April. And even though we had these ongoing investigations on Ways and Means Committee, no one thought to tell us until we heard the reports from a planted question in a bar association meeting. I mean, there's just outrage that we were lied to consistently by individuals at the IRS. There was an investigation and no one brought the information forward to us.
Yeah, now if I could play devil's advocate here for a second, I mean, there's a lot to get upset about here, and we've even seen some of that, whether it's real outrage or not, even coming from the White House. But there's also already some folks talking that maybe some members of the GOP might be overreaching here. How do you make sure that you go after this issue with the tenacity that's needed, but not to the point that it appears like the party's overreaching?
Well, we like to make decisions based on facts, and I would agree with you. No one needs to get ahead of the facts here, and that's why the investigation or the hearing that we had last week was helpful. But now we have more questions than we have answers, so we need to take the next step, and to continue to investigate. And no one should get ahead of the facts.
Yes, and we know Congress will be deliberate in this, but there are a lot of folks wanting to get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible. Congresswoman Lynn Jenkins, thanks so much for being with us today. A pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.